Deputy Director at DCRAC. I'm here to help you with your housing, tax, or title problem, so give me a call anytime, and I'm happy to meet to see what we can do together.
My name is Joe Gross. I'm the Credit Clinic Director here at DCRAC. I'm the one that would sit down with you, develop a budget, figure out a spending plan, pull your credit report, and see if there's any way we can improve that.
Hi, my name is Lillian Harrison, and I'm the Housing Director for DCRAC. And as the Housing Director, I help people with foreclosure prevention, pre-purchase counseling, credit, and budgeting. And it's absolutely my pleasure to serve you.
Hi, my name is Anthony Doring. I'm Delaware's free tax attorney and the director at the DCRAC Low Income Tax Clinic. If you receive a notice from the IRS, please give me a call as soon as possible so I can schedule for a free consultation.
Hi, my name is Maricela Tovar Rangel, and I am responsible for doing the intake process here at DCRAC. And I also manage the credit union, Stepping Stones Community Federal Credit Union, y también hablo español.
Hi, my name is Christian Pillerino. I work for DCRAC as an outreach director. I enjoy working for community and local families.
Hello, Delaware, how are you? I am Rashmi Rangan, and today I'll spend a half hour with you, and I'll be back next Sunday for another half hour. So, before anything, let me invite you to a free event. It is on November 17th at the Chase Riverfront Center from 8:30 to 1 p.m., hosted by AARP Delaware and the alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc. It's a free event, but you must RSVP. And just because you heard sponsored by AARP doesn't mean you have to be of a certain age to attend. You can be of any age. Join us. So how do you RSVP? The phone number is 877-926-8300. Again, 877-926-8300. Breakfast and lunch is included, and you will hear Michelle Singletary, the guru of money. So call right away. Sign up. It is November 17th. It's a Saturday from 8:30 to 1 at Chase on the riverfront. To those who have not seen this program before, let me introduce to you the Delaware Community Reinvestment Action Council. We are a 31-year young advocacy organization started in 1987 by Jim Sills and several leaders in the community that were tired of redlining. What was redlining? Banks would take your deposits, but when it came to making loans, well, where you lived wasn't worth lending to. So they drew lines, not always red, but loan officers knew which communities they did not lend. Community Reinvestment Act was signed into law in 1977. 10 years later, in 1987, DCRAC was born. So we have a rich history. I've been on this show since February 1999. First Sunday of every month, I come in and I talk for about an hour on many things. Primarily, in the early years, I talked only about credit, money, savings, home ownership. Those were things that I talked in early years. Then I started seeing a foreclosure crisis that really hadn't hit on our shores yet, but the turbulences I could see in the loans that were made to our community. So I talked about being smart about borrowing, and when you're experiencing foreclosure, things that you could do. Even in the early years, the early 1990s, we were able to modify mortgages. Later, when the tsunami hit the main street, that is all of us, then we had some programs. And now most programs have gone away, but we still have foreclosure prevention options, loan modifications, and a DMAP program, the Delaware Emergency Mortgage Assistance Program, that our organization, along with DACA, at that time it was ACORN, we worked very hard to bring that program into fruition. So we've been advocating, fighting, and over the years, predatory lending became a huge concern for me, and it was just purely by accident. I had an hour to kill before I had to go to Del State to teach a class on money matters. What else? So I walked into Borders bookstore, and a book caught my eye, and that book was all about how corporate America profits from poverty. And the stories I read just broke my heart, and I realized, oh, if it happens in Georgia, if it happens in Minnesota, if it happens in California, if it happens in New York, I bet it happens here in Delaware. So my radar picked up the buy here, pay here, gold, we buy gold, we buy ugly houses, the payday lending shops, the pawn shops, and surprisingly, actually not surprisingly, I live in Pike Creek. In Pike Creek, I didn't see any of these, but I work in Wilmington on Church Street and now Harrison Street. And my commute to Wilmington exposed me to all these predatory storefronts, predatory lenders in amazing storefronts making toxic loans. Over the years, because we helped people with their credit, we saw thousands of credit reports. And one of the things that we saw were tax liens. And when we saw that, the impact they had on a credit report, and these were the early years when credit score was so proprietary, we had no idea what went into it. So we started a tax clinic. So we have programs, and our programs evolve based on a need in the community, and the need in the community that is either not met at all, or it is met but there is such great need that we need to get into this mix as well. So that is our evolution, if you will. So who do we serve? Delawareans who are working very hard to escape poverty and to build a better life for themselves, their families, and their communities. So if you are a fighter, and for every one step forward that you take, you are forced to take 2 steps back, we are with you. So give us a call, give us a try. State of Delaware is our community. Our specific focus is on Wilmington and Georgetown, the 2 areas, 2 ends that anchor us, and the 2 communities that are really, really distressed. We do a lot of education and outreach. This is an education outreach opportunity. We empower families who are locked in poverty. Our counseling is very tailored. We work towards helping you improve your credit, start saving, buy a home, pull out of debt of any form, tax debt, mortgage debt. So all our education and outreach is to encourage you, let you know help is available, not just from us, but there are any number of organizations in our great state ready, standing by to answer the call. All you have to do is pick up the phone. If you are in any distress money related, call 211 and you will be connected with a resource that is closest to you. We are lawyers and we are bankers. Oh my God, we are very proud. On that note, on our staff, we are 8 of us. 7 of us are full-time and 1 is part-time. 3 of us 8 are Delaware attorneys. And next week, on November 8th, all 3 Delaware attorneys are being recognized for an outstanding work that we do as lawyers. So as lawyers, there are 2 things we do right now. One is, if you are in IRS trouble, and you will be notified by mail, you won't be notified by the telephones or the email. You will receive a formal letter from the IRS notifying you of what kind of trouble you are in. 9 out of 10 times, that notification will also include contact information of a low-income tax clinic in every state in the union. When you come down to the state of Delaware, you will find Anthony Doring and his phone number, which is 690-5000. Anthony Doring, you can text him. This is his cell phone number. That's the best way actually to connect with him. Then we also, over the years, as we were working with families on their housing issue, on their credit issue, saving issue, budget issue, we came across, and that also because one banker told us this is a big issue, we started looking for it. And really, when you start looking for an issue, you are going to find it. So we started looking, and this is the issue. Many homeowners are homeowners, but they, for some reason or the other, did not transfer title into their name. So on the title, they are not homeowner. They cannot prove, there is no evidence of ownership. And if you don't have evidence of home ownership, it could be a mobile home, land, or your home, then you can't modify a mortgage on it. You can't get a grant. You can't borrow. You can't refinance. You cannot leave it for your heirs. So we have a clinic. It's called the Delaware Delaware Title Project. So if you don't have title to your home, you have an attorney, Jacqueline Quinn, who can provide you legal assistance in doing deed transfers to your name. So these services currently are available to you at no cost. We are bankers. Well, if you can't beat them, join them. Our history 31 years ago was in advocacy around Community Reinvestment Act that applies to all banks insured by the FDIC. The law says that if you take deposits and receive a guarantee in the form of FDIC insurance, then you have an obligation to meet the credit needs of your entire community. So we've been advocating, and we will continue to advocate, but things haven't changed, have they? And so we decided there was time for us to begin planning this process and get our own financial institution, one over which we have control. So Stepping Stones Community Federal Credit Union was formed in 2011. Something that I'm incredibly proud of. Delaware should be proud of, because this was the year of such a financial crisis. Banks, credit unions were kind of, failing left, right, and center, and there wasn't an appetite to charter new charters, and yet we made it. So I'm incredibly proud of that. Advocacy and legislation. So the greatest amount of advocacy we do is in Washington, D.C., and then we are in Dover, and we are also in the city of Wilmington. So in D.C., our advocacy is around Community Reinvestment Act primarily. And then we advocate around CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that we fought so hard to get launched, and it is being destroyed, chipped away. But I used to say I don't own a hair dryer. But the day CFPB was born, I did go and buy me a hair dryer. And my thing used to be, when you buy a hair dryer, there is a big clear notice, caution, do not use it in the bathtub. And I'd say all these horrible, toxic loans and banking products that banks offer in my community, why don't they come with a huge warning sign? The day either we get those huge warning signs, or we have someone to turn to in the event we are destroyed, that is the day I'll buy a hairdryer. So I did buy one. So that's our advocacy in those areas: payday lending, debt collection, title loans. Those kind of things form our federal advocacy. Local advocacy, we did fight for a payday lending reform. Had we had the will of our people with us, we could have gotten a very strong payday lending legislation. But we got something, and we'll move and strengthen it in time. And at local levels, a lot depends upon what comes up. So one of the recent things that came up was the blight bill that we advocated, because we know fees and fines are what criminalize poverty in our communities. So we must keep an eye. When I leave here, I will be going to the NAACP dinner. And I have been really honored with the spot to speak to the audience there, and they'll be the who's who in our community. I couldn't conceivably miss that opportunity. But I thought I will practice on you, right? So this is my speech for later today. Since the day that I landed in the United States, I have been fighting for power, equity, equality, redistribution of power. That is really been my fight. And I'm incredibly blessed because I have everything. But I know you fight for it every single day as well. But I also know we give up power so easily. And my experience with that was, I used to early on in the foreclosure crisis, I used to get phone calls so early, and they would be, oh, I haven't made a payment, so I left my home because I know they'll take it away. Hello? No, you have plenty time before you're kicked out. At least go kicking and screaming. We don't need proof that there is systemic and structural barriers to wealth and economic power. But in this day and age of fake news and alternative facts, I offer you some very sobering statistics. It will be about 228 years from now, if the trends continue, that an average black family will have acquired the wealth of an average white family in America today. 228 years. White middle-income earners own nearly 8 times the wealth of black average middle-income earners. Between 1983 and 2013, the wealth of the median black household decreased by 75%. Decreased by 75%. And in that same time, the wealth of a median white household rose by 14%. Disparities in home ownership rate accounts for much of the wealth built in our nation. And recently, and I think it must have been 6 months, 10 months ago, I came across the statistics that the wealth gap between black and white homeowners is wider today than it was in Jim Crow era, and I still cannot get over the shock of that. I shouldn't, but I can't get over that shock because for the last 30 years, we've been fighting for home ownership. In 2015, our federal government spent $51 billion with a B, $51 billion on housing our poor. And it spent $90 billion with a B on giving interest and tax breaks to homeowners. So those who really don't need get twice as much of federal wealth and support as those who need, although in this era that is being taken away. Of course, to you it shouldn't be a surprise. It isn't a surprise to me. America has always been made great for some at the expense of others. Last week, I met 5 young advocates, amazing advocates. They are a new organization, Partners for Alliance, one in Wilmington and one in San Francisco, I believe. And these young advocates have spent only 1 month in Wilmington, Delaware, in the criminal justice system, and their stories were heart-wrenching. Again, I was not surprised that somebody has to spend time in jail because they can't come up with a $50 bail, or a bus pass to keep their parole officer appointment and back in jail. It did not come as a surprise to me. I mentioned earlier, just a few weeks ago, the city was poised to basically pass a blight legislation. And basically the impact would have been a feeing and fining of those who cannot or will not fix up their property. Since I know feeing and fining is one way to criminalize poverty, we battled because we needed stronger solutions for blight, not just feeing and fining, but good programs to go with it. Economic inequity is rampant. You look anywhere and you will see. A loaf of bread on East Side is twice as expensive as a loaf of bread at Panera. I gave you another example. Many years ago, I met a young man at a homeless shelter. And he became homeless only because several years ago he had a need of $200. He couldn't use his credit card, he had maxed out, couldn't use any other money, so he went to a title lender, borrowed $200 with a promise to pay back $800 within 30 days. And if not, they could take his car away. Of course, you know Delaware, without a car, you can't really get anywhere. So $50 every week for several weeks to make sure that his car wasn't repossessed. But he couldn't keep up with that either. He lost his car. He lost his car, he lost his job, he became homeless. So his story was the inspiration for me to work so hard to bring Stepping Stones Community Federal Credit Union to our community. It is for those that live, work, worship, study in the city of Wilmington. The credit union is our mission in action. It is the manifestation of our mission to redistribute an economic power that has been historically and tragically denied. It is so critical to the health of Delaware and our community that in 2011, in the midst of the financial crisis, it was the only charter awarded by the NCUA. And with support from you, we can become an even greater success story. Your support is incredibly important to fight this battle, and maybe one day we will have won this battle. So, the one thing that we need to do, we don't do, or not in numbers that have an impact. And that one thing is vote. Your vote matters. Just in these primaries, County Council District 1 was won by 59 votes, and State Rep District 7 by 86 votes. Paraphrasing Oprah, I refuse to let the sacrifices your ancestors made so that I can go and vote. I will not let that sacrifice go down in vain. Neither should you. Our votes decide whether we get clean drinking water in Ellendale, whether my child goes to a good school or not, whether the state enacts the earned income tax credit for the poor or not. Tuesday is election day. Please go and vote. Vote is 100% certain that your voice is heard. It's better than complaining. So I will see you next week, and I hope you have voted and taken out your friends, neighbors, anybody to the polling places. So thank you so much.